Hello and welcome, folks, to another exciting edition Michigan Panthers Picks podcast. A couple more times for the people. You best be ready because... I am your host, as always, FBI Tugboat. Let's get on into it. Yes, this is the Michigan Panthers Picks episode. Today is May 22nd, Thursday, May 22nd. I'm generally going to try and do the gambling episodes on Thursdays because sometimes they don't even have lines out and there's no announcements and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to make bets when you don't know who's starting and who's playing. Before we get into it, if you're planning on betting intoxicated, betting underage, or betting in a place where it is illegal, then you can't... Oh, wait, hang on. Where is it? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, man, I got rid of the soundbite. Well, you can get out. There you go. Oh, well. Then you can get out. There you go. Do it yourself. All right, let's get on into it. Yes, week 9 is upon us. Unfortunately, the decisions have been made. Yes, the XFL Divisional Championship will be played in St. Louis. DC has a women's soccer tournament going on right there, and a lot of people show up for that. DC knew that for a while, unfortunately. And honestly, I've said this in the other podcast, week review preview podcast. This is rough for us. It's the second year in the row for us, getting absolutely screwed over here with no USFL divisional conference, or the conference championship even possibly being in Ford Field, even possibly being in Detroit. Second year in a row. Well, we lost to Birmingham, so it's not even a question unless we beat them this week. DC already not just beat, but shut down. I think it was 27-15, something like that, against St. Louis in week number 4 or something like that. They'll be playing them again next weekend. And regardless, doesn't matter. It's going to be in St. Louis. This game also, even though San Antonio Brahmas are second, also in St. Louis, by the way. So it's something to keep in mind right here. So, yeah, so ultimately, playoffs are determined. So none of these games really fully matter, right? San Antonio eliminated from the playoff contention. Memphis eliminated from playoff contention. Houston eliminated from playoff contention. Arlington eliminated from playoff contention. It will be the St. Louis Battlehawks playing against the DC Defenders in St. Louis. It will be the Michigan Panthers playing against the Birmingham Stallions in Birmingham. Players have put out statements. Hey, we should have it at neutral site. Arlington. Nope. They want to cash money on in for that St. Louis Battlehawks. Ticket sales and everything else for that one more week. I honestly do not know why. Birmingham, Alabama should be ashamed as a city for the how little they have turned out for a back-to-back-to-back champion. Now playing in a very competitive season. Honestly, absolutely shameful. I'm not sure who should be more ashamed, Birmingham, Alabama, or the entire state of Texas for their attendance. Honestly, these places tout themselves as meccas of football. Absolute. Just dog shit, honestly. Just pathetic. It really is. Like, St. Louis has turned out for a while. We've come to expect a lot from them. They're hands down the most. And I'm not just saying this because Michigan's attendance is literally up 30%. Every other team is down or negligent, right? I think Arlington's like 1.5% or something like that. Minus 1.5%, I should say. Even St. Louis is down, and we still don't get anything. We still don't get any kind of consideration, right? It is what it is. How about I stop whining and get into why you guys came here. 3 minutes and 40 seconds into this one. Yes, the picks, the cash money. Let's talk about it. What do they mean? All right, let's hop on into this one. Folks, I have a horrible news right here. I do not have... Not this week. I like all these favorites, and honestly, like, why shouldn't you? First and foremost... Don't bet this game. Don't bet this Michigan Panthers-Birmingham game. Maybe live if you're in a place that you can do that in the points and stuff like this. But what we have nothing super official, but we all know Bryce Perkins will not be playing this week, right? Injured the ankle last week. Danny Etling came in. Yes, if you've been listening to the podcast, what you're about to hear is accurate. I am not under duress. I'm not being held captive right now. Danny Etling looked good, and Danny Etling should be the starting quarterback this week. Not because he is better than Bryce Perkins, but because the game doesn't matter. And because Bryce Perkins has a bum ankle. And because Bryce Perkins runs a whole lot. And because I actually want to freaking beat these Birmingham Stallions finally in the USFL conference matchup in 2 weeks. This game does not matter. Plenty of other people have talked about not wanting to show off game plan and other stuff like this. There's a lot to be said for that. Really, at the end of the day, what I don't want to give Birmingham is another week of seeing how they play against Bryce Perkins, right? He only got minimal playing time, excuse me, in the first time we matched up against him. How about I stop talking about actually just make picks? St. Louis Battlehawks are an absolute run. Don't be surprised if they rest some of their starters. Doesn't really matter. San Antonio, love you guys. Absolutely love the stadium. This is not at home. This is in St. Louis once again, and this is a no-brainer. This is an absolute no-brainer. Now I'm gonna go through and make all my gun to the head picks first, and then I'll determine what are like my picks. I'll let you know. This is one of them right here. This is one of them. Taking a look at the total, gun to the head. I'm not betting this total. All right, gun to the head, 42.5. I'm gonna say over just because San Antonio can put up some points on the board, but their defense is not one that's going to win this game ultimately. And St. Louis, in classic Tony Beck and St. Louis fashion, is going to want to run the score up, especially against an XFL divisional rival. Even though they don't have the same weapons they had last year. Obviously, don't have the same head coach that they had last year. But this is a San Antonio Brahmas squad that kept St. Louis out of the playoffs, or out of the championship. Excuse me. Even though they would go on and get beaten 0-25. Gun to the head, 42.5 is what I like right here. Taking a look, Arlington Renegades, the Memphis Showboats. Neither of these teams have anything to play for whatsoever, which makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Gun to the head, not betting this, but gun to the head over 40.5. Again, I think Memphis is good for. If Memphis is good for double digits here, like 14-28, that's how I can see this. That's how I can see this game going. But second lock, bang, of the week. Again, I'll go through all these. Don't worry, guys, if you're missing them. But these are all gun to the head picks, and I'll go through the locks later. That's another one of them right here, though. I would have liked this number I would have loved this number at 2.5. I would have absolutely loved this number at 2.5, and I think that's closer to where it actually opened up at. But it is the it is. Once again, folks, do not bet this game. Do not bet this game. So, what is this? May 24th, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions. Do not bet this game. At least until there's announcement. Like, if they announce that Perkins is playing the entire time, then I love this plus 2.5. Like, if they actually try. But the thing is, like, Mike Nolan's a game player, right? He's a coach. Perkins was announced being benched for injury 5 minutes or so before the game started last week. Unless Mike Nolan comes out, puts his hand on a religious text, and says, hey, Bryce Perkins is playing this entire game, and we are going to try and win the entire game. Do not bet this game. Do not bet this game. If gun to my head, if I had to right now, you gave me, hey, here's 50 free bucks. You have to bet it on this game, and you can't do it tomorrow, or you can't do it with any more information. That would be one of them. That would be the other one. This is the only not the only under. Excuse me. This is obviously overs. Gun to the head. Overs right here is what I like. Gun to the head, that's what I like here as well. But do not bet this game. Moving on along here. Taking a look, DC Defenders, Houston Roughnecks. Roughnecks have looked decent these past few weeks. They even looked decent last week against us. Sorry, I take that back. They got like the last second touchdown, only lose by 12. That's an 18-point loss otherwise, which is still technically only a 2-score loss within the UFL, but still. Houston's definitely better. Houston's like that 25% better. We're like literally like 50% better, right? That's why that happened last week, even with the backup quarterback Danny Etling. Danny Etling also slung the rock again. Got the hands in the air. I'm not being held captive here, people. Danny Etling looked good last week. The argument could be made that it's decently easy to look good against the Houston defense and coaching mind that is C.J. Johnson, but still got to give the man props where where he gets it. Also, so I as I'm talking myself into it, I like this under just because. Actually, no, I don't like this under. What am I talking about? The Houston Roughnecks defense isn't great, and DC's defense is actually bad. Yeah, I took the high number last week and still mega cashed on it. It was like, 43.5 for DC Arlington. Game ended to like 68. Something like that. I mean, the first game ended at 70 even. It was, 37-33 total. Like, that's pretty crazy. I still like, okay, so we'll talk about it in a bit. No, but this right here, DC, this is wild. Yes, Jalen McClendon threw for 50 pass attempts last week, completed 30 of them, which is still pretty insane. Justin Hall getting like 11 of those or something like that. I still don't feel like that's going to be enough to beat DC. No, I don't feel I'm not going to call DC a fraud team, but their defense just has to get better if anybody's going to be looking to them to win. Yes, the XFL championship kind of like against St. Louis, like I can see that being a shootout. And yes, St. Louis has a decent defense, but really, uh, in the championship, whether that's going to be against us or Birmingham, if DC's defense doesn't get better, then I just don't see them going forth. But regardless, Houston's defense is not fantastic. We can look at here team offensive statistics. They are numero uno. Houston's fifth. But let me look at the let's look at the defensive stats a little bit when it comes to rushing. Now Houston's towards the bottom of the barrel, sixth right here. This that's just for yeah, no, that's for yardage, not attempts. I hate when they do it by attempts right here. But there's also like a pretty significant gap between fourth and fifth right here, right? 791 for the Arlington Renegades as total yards as well. 925 allowed for the Houston Roughnecks across these 8 games. I mean, all 3 of these teams. Or no, excuse me. Oh wow, no, yeah, DC's right here and Houston's right there. Yeah, actually, so yeah, those 2 defense bottom of the barrel. That's pretty. It's pretty interesting when it comes to rushing. Now, Houston isn't going to have to worry about DC rushing the ball as much. Jackson looked good last week. Abram Smith just didn't really. You know what I'm saying? Their threat is through the air here. Passing statistic, the Houston passing statistics, they're actually the same exact spots, 5th and 6th right here, but this number is going to go way up. There's also a massive, massive difference between the number 1 passing defense, which is the mentioned Showboats, and the Birmingham Stallions and St. Louis, which is literally right there. Down here, and we're actually last on the defensive passing stats. What that tells me is that teams have had to resort to the pass to get this out. Also, this would literally be like we literally have DC's position right here if we didn't let up like 130 yards, 114, something like that, to Hakeem Butler on 2 touchdown receptions. It is what it is. You know, you can play the what if game all day long, but I do feel like that kind of adjusts this a little bit. We have let up 11 passing touchdowns, so that's pretty insane. Tied for most right here. What that tells me is again, it's probably just like high scoring shootouts. Anyway, speaking of just 2 bad defenses right here, the only reason now that I look at it, the only reason I really like this is just because Luis Perez is gonna sling the rock a whole lot. Let's look at Memphis is okay. Yeah, there you go. So Memphis allowing 123 on the ground. Where's the average? Why doesn't it show us the average? Dude, that's so irritating. Shows us the average, but it doesn't really help us out too much, does it? Doesn't. Okay, well, whatever that number is divided by 8. God damn it. Okay, we're looking at DC's passing 1456 divided by 8. Looking at 182 yards through the air. So 182 right here, so that's going to be pretty much the same 183 or something like that. But yeah, dude, yeah. Jordan Ta'amu and DC are going to blow that out of the water. This is what I feel real comfortable about. San Antonio's offense, though, that's really the question right here. Not that I'm trying to be like a numbers, just a complete numbers junkie on this one. San Antonio there towards the bottom, though, bro. And that's like a pretty significant difference here as well. 234 a game total yardage, bro. Where's San Antonio? Wow, actually less than... Well, I mean, that makes sense. Max Duggan's just been running the rock. San Antonio here. Yeah, part of this is thanks to Anthony McFarland. Part of this is the new guy Gavin, right? Or something like that. I can't exactly remember his name now that I think about it. Should be up here. No, he's not going to get... Jashawn Corbin, excuse me. Wow, just like that, got all the way up to the... And no, so that's not... I mean, yeah, he played in 8 games, but that's not accurate. Yeah, the more I look at that, the more I actually like this this over right here. Yeah, so let's go on through here now. Now that we're towards the end, let's give our 3 locks, and we'll give out a total that I like the best out of these 4. How about that? Clear all, bang. Yeah, like I said, guys, I like all the favorites this week. This is Do not parlays these because that's the easiest way on the planet to go chalk and just go completely, take your picks and lose them all. But 6.5, bet this now. This opened up a little bit lower. Arlington, I think, was 3.5. I'm happy about this one. DC, you might want to wait for a little bit because like there's not a significant difference between -3.5 and -4.5. However, if this drops to -2.5, that is money all day long because I could definitely see DC and Shannon Harris like game planning when they get ahead, going for being ahead by 1, going for 2 to get to 3. Right? If they're ahead by 1. Or if they score a touchdown to go ahead by 1, they are not ever going to go for a 3-point conversion to go ahead by 4. That's just obviously putting it out of reach there and forcing Houston to try and get a touchdown is reasonable. Maybe they would if there was like, I don't know, like 12 seconds left. It's literally like the very, very, very end of the game. But even so, getting 3 points is just tough, right? Like being ahead by 1, getting 3 to force them to get a touchdown. I could actually see that like a little bit. But that's more and more and more so why I like that 2.5 right here. Now, taking a gun and putting it to my head and forcing a total here. Forcing a total. Yeah, again, don't bet this game, but I do feel good about that under overall. I'd need like confirmation that certain people are playing first, and we just haven't gotten that. Last week was probably the most egregious with the Bryce Perkins announcement, like literally, 5 minutes before the game or something like that. Total, 42.5. San Antonio Brahmas, St. Louis. We'll come back to this one. For some reason, I'm just not feeling this as well. How is Memphis's Yeah, how is Memphis's rushing offense? Defense, here we go. All the way at the bottom. Only 90 a game. God damn. Passing Memphis towards the bottom of the barrel, yeah. What is Arlington's rushing? Towards the bottom right here. Yeah, so with this, man, even though that number's low, right? That's like literally 5 points lower than over here. I just don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm going to take the over on the lowest number on the board, right? Like, that just again, seems like a way to go chalk. Who has more to prove here, St. Louis or Arlington? It's definitely St. Louis, right? And DC, I mean, they could put up 28 themselves, but I'm not 100% sure if I see Houston on the other side. How is DC's rushing defense? That's actually my question. Yeah, because of Quandre Wright over there and Lindgren, I think his name was. DC lets up average. I'm not sure what is that yardage. I don't even know what this is. Oh, those are tackles. That's so stupid. That's such a dumb way to put this. Why would you put this up here first? Whatever. How is DC's so DC middle of the pack as far as rushing, 115. And DC, yeah, middle of the pack towards the bottom right there. Yeah, 115 there. All right. Locks for the week. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Locks for the week. Bang, bang, bang. Gonna be looking at... I was really deciding between St. Louis, San Antonio's total, Arlington Renegades, Memphis's total. I just have like a little bit more faith, right? I just have a little bit more faith in Arlington's ability to run the rock and, to run the rock. Let's look at rushing statistics. Yeah, Arlington, St. Louis, pretty much right there, but Arlington has let up 3 more. The difference in yards per game is completely negligible right there. Arlington will probably be running the ball a little bit more later on, and that's a lower total. Take a look at the passing. So it says, here we go. Arlington. Yeah, no significant difference right there for the yardage completion. Definitely a little bit different there, but yeah, gave up basically the same amount of touchdowns, got less interceptions. Yeah, okay. The only total that I feel good about here is the over 40.5. Yes, it's the lowest on here, but I could see Arlington putting up 24, 27, with Memphis putting up at least 16 or so, like 2 touchdowns and a field goal, something like that. Yeah, so that's going to be the 3 picks. St. Louis Battlehawks -6.5, Arlington Renegades -4.5, DC Defenders -3.5. And if I had to take a total, it would be Arlington and Memphis. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, over 40.5, the low number right there. Let's see that cash, make some money. That's going to be about it, folks. Follow the UFM, the United Football Media Group, all these fantastic goats out here. We have somebody covering each episode. I also have gambling episode over here. Brandon over there with the Memphis Showboats, Captain's Log. Has done some gambling stuff as well. And we got loads of content coming at you guys. If you haven't been following yet, then you're missing out. Follow UFM over here. Follow myself at FBI_Tugboat, literally everywhere. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.